Morning everyone, deep thoughts from the dashboard. I'm mssackstein, and it is very cold outside. The wind has been howling all night, but I went to bed pretty early. Very excited this week. Nothing I like more than Spirit Week, and my favorite day of Spirit Week is Pajama Day. Pajama Day is my favorite because there's nothing like being able to wake up in the morning and attend school in your pajamas and have it called School Spirit. It's pretty awesome. The kids really get a kick out of the teachers who participate, and I try to participate every day. I think it's an easy thing I can do as a teacher to connect with the kids and be a part of the school spirit, and I think that sometimes we need to do that. I think, school could be a really serious place, but it doesn't have to be serious all the time. So why not take the opportunity to actually be a part of the community and do what the kids are doing? Sometimes you can't participate, but when you can, it makes sense to do it. And I think these are easy days, and days like Pajama Day, well, that's pretty good for me anyway. Whether we had Spirit Week or not, I'd probably love to come in my pajamas every day if I could get away with it. Of course, it's not terribly professional, so I probably wouldn't do it, but I would think about doing it. Secondly, I wanted to talk about some end-term grading practices. I noticed this weekend a bunch of people are reading Hacking Assessment, and that is awesome. I had put out a post yesterday on Ed Week about letting kids grade themselves, and I have a video that went up of one of my students doing her grading conference. And what's really, really important when we're doing these things with students isn't just kind of plopping them down and telling them to talk about it, but teaching them explicitly. Reflection should be a pervasive part of every classroom. So like when it comes time at the end of a semester to say, tell me what you've learned, show me where you see those moments of progress, all of those different things that kind of happen, they need to be trained to do that. We can't assume that they know how. Even the older kids, and I teach 11th and 12th graders, so I feel like a lot of people who see what my students can do make the assumption that because they're older and they're in my AP class, and obviously only they can handle it. It's not the truth. I mean, for example, if you read today's post, I have a student in my newspaper class, and I've had students like this. I think, there's a student like this every year, I think, and I think every teacher knows this student. It's the student who is probably going through a lot at home. They're having issues, and whether or not we're aware of how deep those issues run or the truth of the situations that are being shared, we know something's going on, and we try to help these kids. In the beginning, when we don't know, we certainly stick our necks out all the time, trying to pull them in, trying to engage them, trying to get them to take ownership of their learning, but they just won't have it. And this particular kind of student is a real challenge for me because I would say 98% of my students participate rather willingly. The class is set up so that they're pretty much in charge of a lot of stuff, and I think kids like that kind of ownership. And then you have that one rebel in the space that's just like, yeah, I see what you're doing here, but I'm not into it. I'm gonna do what I want, but it's not gonna help me very much. And when you try to confront them, sometimes, you change your approach for a confrontation where it was direct in the beginning, then you kind of sidelined. With 11th and 12th graders, I really try to leave mom and dad out of it. At first, I try to really get involved with the student before I bring the parents in, because I feel like when you treat kids like grown-ups to handle their own problems, they see that you're trying to do whatever you can. And then you involve mom and dad when you have to, because obviously mom and dad need to be aware of what's going on in the space. So when we empower kids, sometimes what we have to do, if they're inclined to fail, if they're not interested in helping themselves right now, there comes a point in the process where we as teachers and as parents need to step backwards and say, okay, if this is the choice you're making, You need to make it and understand the repercussions of your choices. And sometimes we need to let them fail. It's hard. We feel like failures ourselves when it happens. But there's so much good that could be learned from this situation that once it happens, you don't put the full court press back on again, but you're there and you make sure that the child knows you're there, and you let them know that when they're ready, you want to help. And you offer multiple ways of helping in a very non-confrontational, non-finger-pointing kind of way. It's really important that we do that. So as we're setting up these conferences and we're putting together our report cards for the end of the year and we're doing all of these things, we really need to remember that there are lots of different kids with lots of different learning profiles in our spaces, and we got to let go of our justice mindset and think about proficiency against the standards, not our interest in individual kids, not our affection or relationships with these kids necessarily, but what they know and can do, how well they can articulate it to us, where they could point to their work that supports the things that they're saying, and then again, kind of helping them develop strategies and goals to improve moving forward, which is, again, the most essential piece. Progress is so essential. And that's really how we empower them as well, when they could take ownership of their learning, and our learning spaces do that. So setting up to celebrate Monday today, I'm finishing up conferences with my students in all of my classes. And then on Tuesday, tomorrow, we'll be starting the Gatsby performances and student-led conversations about the chapters, and I think this will be a great opportunity. I'm hoping to scope some of the stuff that happens in class, because I'm always really impressed with what students do during this particular assignment and how well they're able to get into Fitzgerald's writing and really use it to their benefit. So I'm gonna sign off for now. I have someone's headlights in my face, that's what you see, and I get to go into class in about half an hour. I have students coming in this morning, lots of writing conferences still happening all the time, but I'm really trying to start weaning kids from that, so that we could certainly move forward and they could take a little more agency in their own process. Anyway, I hope everyone has a super spectacular day, and I'll be checking in at some point later.